Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
Time feels universal. The sun rises, the day begins, hours pass, and night returns. Yet in Ethiopia, the way time is counted, spoken, and lived follows a rhythm that often surprises visitors and fascinates historians. When someone in Addis Ababa says it is 1 o'clock, the rest of the world may still be counting 7. This difference is not confusion, backwardness, or a modern invention. It is the result of an ancient worldview, deeply rooted in astronomy, geography, religion, and history, preserved by one of the oldest continuous civilizations on Earth. To understand why Ethiopian time is different from the rest of the world is to step into a story that begins with the sun, passes through sacred scripture, resists colonial standardization, and survives into the modern age as a symbol of cultural independence. Ethiopia's unique system of timekeeping is inseparable from its position on the planet. Lying close to the equator, Ethiopia experiences a relatively consistent cycle of daylight throughout the year. Unlike regions farther north or south, where the length of day changes dramatically between seasons, Ethiopia's days and nights remain nearly equal year-round. Sunrise and sunset occur at roughly the same times each day, creating a natural balance between light and darkness. For ancient societies living close to the land, this regularity shaped how time was perceived. Day began not at midnight, an abstract moment in darkness, but at sunrise, when life visibly resumed. This sunrise-based understanding of time was not unique to Ethiopia in antiquity. Many ancient civilizations measured time from the appearance of light rather than from an artificial numerical boundary. What makes Ethiopia remarkable is that it preserved this system while much of the world moved away from it. In Ethiopian timekeeping, the day begins at dawn. The first hour starts when the sun rises, not when a mechanical clock strikes 12. This means that what the modern world calls 7 o'clock in the morning is considered 1 o'clock in Ethiopia. The hours proceed naturally, with the movement of the sun across the sky. This approach to time is deeply tied to ancient astronomical observation. Long before mechanical clocks existed, Ethiopians, like other ancient peoples, relied on the sun as the primary measure of daily life. Shadows, light, and heat marked the passage of hours. The division of the day into 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night reflects a cosmology inherited from antiquity, one that emphasized balance and order rather than precision by the minute. Ethiopian timekeeping reflects a world where time was lived, not merely counted. Religion played a central role in preserving this system. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, one of the oldest Christian institutions in the world, shaped daily rhythms through prayer, fasting, and liturgical cycles. Monastic life in Ethiopia depended on prayer hours aligned with sunrise, sunset, and the natural progression of the day. Midnight prayers, dawn prayers, and evening prayers were defined by natural time rather than mechanical clocks. The church calendar, with its complex cycles of feasts and fasts, reinforced a worldview in which time was sacred, cyclical, and deeply connected to divine order. The Bible itself, as read and interpreted in the Ethiopian tradition, reinforces this perspective. Biblical language frequently speaks of the day beginning in the morning, of light preceding action, and of God ordering time through creation. Ethiopian Christianity preserved a Semitic understanding of time closer to ancient Jewish tradition than later Western interpretations shaped by Roman administration. In this worldview, time is not an abstract grid imposed on life, but a living structure woven into creation itself. Geography also reinforced the practicality of Ethiopian time. In a society where agriculture was central, knowing when the sun rose and set mattered far more than knowing an abstract hour disconnected from light. Farmers planned their labor around daylight. Markets opened with the sun. Travel depended on visibility and temperature. Ethiopian time aligns social life with natural conditions, ensuring that the spoken hour corresponds intuitively with what people see and feel. The introduction of European timekeeping did not come until relatively late. Ethiopia, unlike most of Africa, was never fully colonized. While it experienced brief occupation and external pressure, it retained political and cultural sovereignty for most of its history. As a result, the imposition of European clock systems never fully displaced indigenous practices. Where colonial administrations elsewhere standardized time to serve railways, factories, and imperial coordination, Ethiopia continued to live according to its own temporal logic. When mechanical clocks and Western education eventually entered Ethiopia, they did not erase the traditional system. Instead, two systems began to coexist. Ethiopians learned to translate between international time and local time, using one for external coordination and the other for daily life. This bilingual relationship with time became second nature. Rather than abandoning tradition, Ethiopians adapted without surrendering identity. The coexistence of Ethiopian time and international time reveals deeper philosophical differences. Western timekeeping emphasizes precision, efficiency, and uniformity. Minutes are subdivided into seconds, schedules are rigid, and time is often treated as a resource to be managed or lost. Ethiopian time reflects a more relational understanding. Appointments are tied to the flow of the day. The sun, not the clock, remains the ultimate reference. This does not mean life is unstructured. It means structure arises from natural and social rhythms rather than mechanical abstraction. Historical encounters between Ethiopians and outsiders often reveal misunderstandings rooted in these different temporal philosophies. European travelers in the 19th and early 20th centuries frequently described Ethiopian time as confusing or imprecise, failing to recognize that the system was internally coherent and logically aligned with its environment. What appeared strange to outsiders was, in fact, ancient continuity. The Ethiopian calendar further reinforces this distinct relationship with time. With 13 months and a different calculation of years, Ethiopian chronology reflects ancient Alexandrian and Coptic influences preserved through the Church. Ethiopian timekeeping cannot be separated from Ethiopian calendrical thought. Both arise from the same intellectual and spiritual heritage. Together, they form a comprehensive worldview in which time is measured according to creation, faith, and communal memory. Modernization has introduced challenges. International business, aviation, digital technology, and global communication rely on standardized time. Ethiopians navigating these systems must constantly translate between two worlds. Yet even in the age of smartphones and satellites, Ethiopian time persists. Radios, television programs, church schedules, and daily conversations still follow the traditional system. This persistence is not accidental. It reflects the conscious valuation of heritage. For many Ethiopians, their way of telling time is a quiet assertion of identity. In a world shaped by colonial legacies and cultural homogenization, Ethiopian time stands as evidence that alternative ways of organizing reality can survive and thrive. It is a reminder that modernity does not require erasing the past. Anthropologists and historians increasingly recognize Ethiopian timekeeping as an example of cultural resilience. Rather than framing it as deviation from a global norm, scholars now understand it as continuity with ancient human experience. Before railroads and factories demanded synchronization across continents, humanity lived by the sun. Ethiopia simply never forgot. The emotional dimension of Ethiopian time should not be overlooked. Time, in this tradition, feels intimate. Saying it is 3 o'clock means something visible. The sun is well above the horizon, the day is alive. Time speaks the language of light. This intimacy fosters patience, presence, and attentiveness to surroundings. The survival of Ethiopian time also challenges modern assumptions about progress. Technological advancement often equates standardization with improvement. Yet Ethiopia demonstrates that preserving ancestral knowledge can coexist with participation in the modern world. The difference in timekeeping does not isolate Ethiopia. It enriches global understanding of how human societies organize reality. In recent years, Ethiopian time has become a subject of global curiosity, especially through social media and travel. While often treated as a novelty, its true significance lies deeper. It represents a worldview shaped by geography, faith, resistance, and memory. It is history told through hours. Ultimately, Ethiopian time is different because Ethiopia chose continuity over replacement. It chose the sun over the midnight bell, lived rhythm over abstract precision, and cultural sovereignty over imposed uniformity. In doing so, it preserved one of the oldest living relationships between humanity and time itself. To ask why Ethiopian time is different from the rest of the world is to ask why Ethiopia is different. The answer lies not in clocks, but in centuries of history that refuse to be erased.